There's a woman in your life?
No, I'm saying at any point in time.
So, but
at any point in time,
when you don't have a woman in your life, what's happening?
I have a manager.
Ah.
And she's a woman.
So at what point does this?
So she wants to say you won't catch me. The man. Everybody, she's a woman. The woman in my life is a manager.
This is a conversation about love in today's society, about partnership, choice, and equity, about what we're willing to unlearn and what we're brave enough to reimagine in love and in partnership. This is Unspoken. Today, we are joined by a range of guests who are creatives, innovators, and business leaders. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So I want you guys to explain who you are, what you do, and your current relationship status.
If you are interested, the relationship status only means one thing.
That you want to
Go straight to the point.
Don't go around.
If you want to toast me well. Because I don't know.
Okay, I won't go around.
My answer to my relationship status depends on who's asking. So are you asking me?
The
The
people want to know. The people.
Which people?
All the people.
They have my hand. They should ask me directly.
They should not go around.
They should not go around. Come direct.
Okay, well, I want to know.
You want to know? Cynthia?
Yes.
So, are you single?
Let me introduce myself first of all. Vijay Adams is my name. I work in the creative industry, so I like to think of myself as a creative solutionist because I do a number of things. I've worked in broadcasting in 19 years, TV, radio. I put together my gaming event. I do a footfall of 4,000 people per event type shit. I DJ, I act. I make music, I curate music. I mean, I live. I have fashion. But yeah, I'm just enjoying life.
Okay, and you forgot one thing.
Yeah. The most important thing.
The relationship status.
Anything?
Are you single? Are you dating? Or are you married?
The problem is people can be dating me like this that I don't know.
All right.
Do you understand?
That's not that they will fry you
We need to check. Who's dating me like this that I don't know?
Okay, so it's a question mark. We're just going to talk about your experiences dating.
Yes.
We will take it. Oyindemola.
Okay, my name is Zainda Malasadi. You can call me Anidi.
Anidi.
So I'm an actress and a movie producer.
Nice one.
So the question you asked.
Single, dating, or
I
married?
could have fast, but proudly I'm in a relationship.
Well.
Yay! And you, Francis?
My name is Francis Sani. I like to say what I do. I'm a full-time philosopher living life. But my 9 to 5 today, I serve as a technical advisor to the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy of the country. I run a small school of philosophy, an AI salon, and a couple of other stuff. But yeah, I think in summary, the way I like to describe myself is I'm a human living at this present time, experiencing the world.
Beautifully said. And you forgot something?
No, I'm in a beautiful relationship. Hopefully I get married this year. That's the plan. And excited about the conversation today as well.
Good. Okay, sounds good. All right, so I'm coming to you, Vijay.
Okay.
So within your career, you spent years observing, inspiring, and listening to people speak. So what would you say is your earliest observances of partnership and love?
Earliest observances would honesty. If you're honest about everything that you're being, if I can spot that, it could give me an inclination that this might work. Because it would mean that even if you're going through pain, you would be honest about it. If you're winning, you'll be honest about it. And even if we fight, you'll be honest. You're not going to put dirt on my name just to score points and make me look like a douchebag to your friends. And until I see otherwise, then I can perhaps say no to that relationship anymore.
But even so, in the home, growing up, what was your experience with people and seeing love? I know growing up, my parents were the first versions of love for me.
Absolutely.
So what did that look like for you?
I mean, the same thing. I mean, I'm I'm the last of 5 kids, nuclear family setup.
Okay.
But I grew up with a lot of uncles and aunts, as you'll imagine, in an African home. So that communal love I'm used to it. So by default, even as I grew up and I started to live by myself, I've always had people live with me all the time. So I'm used to that setup. I'm used to the general setup of being responsible for other people is my idea of love. And I think that translates even into my personal relationships as I grow old as well.
I love that. You mentioned a sense of responsibility for other people.
That's right.
Do you feel like that was gender specific? Like, do you feel like, oh, I see the men are taking care of the people around, or I see the community, the women and the men taking care of that? Do you feel like that was a specific role?
I would say that I think generally I believe that humans directly operate within the guidelines of religion, tradition, and maybe the new consciousness now. So, for example, in religion and tradition, the roads are clear, saying, man, look after your woman, provide, And so I think that's the setup that I grew up with as well. The setup of being responsible for people, which would mean if you earn $1 trillion a day, I really don't care if I'm going to give you 2,000 naira airtime every week. So whether or not you make a bill, I really don't care. So that responsibility is what has been instilled in us, and that's me and my siblings, I believe. So absolutely, the way my parents, I saw them love, I saw them being there for one another, I saw them working together regardless to make things happen. They held it down. It's my idea of love.
Thank you for sharing that. Coming to you, Oyindamola. What were your earliest examples of love growing up?
So for me, firstly, I grew up with my mom and my dad.
Okay.
And 2 years ago, my dad passed.
Okay. Sorry.
And I saw my mom stayed with my dad till the very end. So I always tell my mom that I still told her last week. I said that your marriage is like a reflection of what, for the better, for worse. Because my mom stayed with him till the very end. I don't want to go into details so I don't get emotional.
Yeah.
But I saw everything. She never for once regretted anything. In fact, that was the time that I saw her show genuine love to him the most. No, if this woman will do this, then why am I not going to do it? So I'm the last born. My first sister is married. It's the same thing. My second doesn't stay in Nigeria. And similar behavior. So I was raised with love, basically. So
that's beautiful.
for
I
me-
almost got emotional there. But that act of love that she had for your father, for you, did it change something in you, or did you always know that like that's the way that you were supposed to love regardless?
Because I said I was raised with love.
Yes.
For me, I feel like that's the right way to love. That's why it's not just theoretical. This is now practical. So aside the fact that I know it, I hear it, I see it, I also grew up with my mom. I saw it till the very end, until 2 years ago. I said, so in fact, a lot of times she still talks about him. If something leads to something, there's a particular colon I introduced to my dad. So anytime I use that thing, she likes and I'm like, hey, there you go again. So any little thing, before we blink, she's always talking. At the snap of a finger, she's talking about him. So it's still happening till now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, would this woman not move on already? So I was raised with love. And one of the things that I know kept that marriage is communication. So it's very important, and I think it's underrated for any relationship, be it a marriage, friendship, it's underrated. Because sometimes your partner does something to you and then the person doesn't even know that he's done something.
Yeah.
As little as it is, me, I'm very petty. Little things get to me more than the things that you'd expect.
Yeah.
And so if you don't talk about it, expecting that, oh, this person should know you did something, they might not even know. And it's not from a point of wickedness. It's because they don't even know. Maybe they are not used to seeing that thing as something wrong.
Yes.
And so if you don't talk about it, over time, it builds resentment, which doesn't make sense. And at the end, that's where you see some couple, they say they stab each other, they do this and that. So communication basically is the main thing for me. Even before love, I'll prioritize communication.
Wow. Dropping gems. Thank you for that. Coming to you, Francis. What about you? What are your earliest experiences of love and partnership?
It's interesting because as we were talking, I was just thinking about what that looked like growing up, and a couple of words came to mind. The first, sacrifice. Second, community. And then love is then built on those two things. I think sacrifice. So I grew up in a small town in Ileife, humble beginnings, 5 children as well. I think best way to describe it is we grew up for the most part in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 children, right?
Okay.
And I think my parents growing up, like desperate circumstances, like at no point in time did me or my siblings ever feel as though we probably didn't have anything. Like I grew up never feeling as though I was less than anybody else, right? And I think that was built on the sacrifices that they had to make, right? The sacrifices that my mom had to make, doing all sort of things to be able to, make money, and same thing with my dad. And I think that for me, that's, from an early stage, just built off that sort of principle in terms of, yes, love is nice, but the reality is that something has to give, right? And in foundation of that is sacrifice. We grew up in a very strong Catholic, background. And one thing about at least my community growing up was, that sense of community. When they say that, it takes a village to raise a child, I feel like I grew up in that sort of environment. Unlike you, I didn't grow up with a lot of like, cousins. I think we actually have a very unique situation where, so we're from Edo State originally.
Okay.
My dad moved to Ife for after school, and then I brought my mom to Ife. But my mom doesn't allow us to didn't allow us to connect to folks back home. So
Okay.
I don't know any of my cousins. I don't know any of my aunties,
Oh, wow.
any of my uncles. So my nuclear family is most of my family, right? And what that meant growing up as well is then that the church community had to then also become family. And I think that sort of, community where you have people taking care of each other. Because, from a young age, from when we're 5 or 6, we went to the church, we went to do stuff without our parents having to worry about where we would be, because that's sort of, the relationship. And I think that it ties to sacrifice a little bit, but it's just that piece around almost like being responsible for being your brother's keeper, or having that at a community level. And I think that for me, that foundation, being able to see strangers show love and care, even where they didn't have to, in at a communal level, was a strong, foundation for the sense of community that I have today, and a lot of the things I do from a communal standpoint for love.
That's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I think the word community keeps coming up, so I want to dive into that a little bit. When we think about certain like roles and responsibilities within our family unit, we think about the man as the head of the household, and then the woman as the neck, just making sure the home is run okay. But you are saying community. So what do those shared responsibilities look like in your home?
It's a good question. I think in our place, like growing up in my family, yes, the man is the head, but I think there was shared responsibilities, right? In terms of, yes, there were certain things that, my dad had to do. We grew up with a farm in our backyard. So obviously my dad did most of the farming, but like also my mom made sure that we were doing stuff. And
Yes.
on the Saturdays while we were in the farm, my mom and my sister, made sure that, everything going well. I don't think it was ever like the sort of thing whereby the boys only do this and the ladies only do that. I think in our case, we had only one sister and she is the fourth born.
Okay.
So it means that, my older brothers had to do everything. And I also came into that sort of, environment growing up as well. So in terms of the responsibilities, I feel, yes, it was defined, but also still fluid, right? Like my dad, isn't the sort of person that my dad washed plates. My dad did random stuff,
Okay.
right? So as long as he was there to be able to support, whatever needed to be done for the family. And I think that that's something that just, especially now as I'm in probably the most committed relationship of my life, just looking back into that, I'm trying to learn from that, right? In terms of, yes, there are things that are sort of defined and stereotypes that people will typically look at. But, if we say something is a partnership, then in the true sense of it, it has to be a partnership. And a partnership doesn't have clear sort of boundaries and says, oh, this isn't going to happen or this isn't going to happen. A partnership and people in a partnership work together towards a shared goal. And I think that as long as, you're both working towards that, whatever comes up, even if it doesn't fit the typical stereotype, should be stuff that people should do.
Okay. Coming back to you, VJ. So he has his opinions on how the dynamic should be a shared partnership. But I'm curious to hear from you. What is your viewpoint on the hierarchy in love
In the home,
in the home?
in the home. I mean, I think what smart people would do is to play to each other's strengths and identify their weaknesses. So whether or not, if I'm a better cook and my work schedule can allow me cook more often, why not? And if I can even pay for a cook, why do I even have to bother? So I think you work together with your partner, you decide on people's strength areas. I think for the most part, I think I read it somewhere that women are a little more interested in people and men are interested in things. So there's a higher chance that the man might be able to sort out everything that concerns, let's say, the cars in the home, which would mean repairs and all of that stuff. And there's a higher chance that every other thing that concerns direct individual enrichment, that the woman might be a little more inclined to that. So I think you work out whatever works within that particular partnership. You can't say that your format is the most the authority to how the dynamics of a home should be. Because think about it, if you're dating an entrepreneur, the dynamics of her schedule is it differs from if you're dating a 9-to-5 lady. So the dynamics of that relationship is different. If you're dating someone who doesn't even live in the same country as you, it varies as well. So that's why you're going to have to zone into, you really can't give a template that works. In our parents' time, the dynamics were clear because they operated directly from a tradition or religious status, which would mean
what was that?
Which would mean the father leads the family. He takes responsibility, and I see it from a responsibility standpoint because if things go wrong, is everybody going to hands up and say it's not me? It's not me. But the father is always having to take responsibility for that, and I think that's why they guided us the way they did and led the way they did. And I think that's also very okay because regardless of my father leading the family, my mother worked. My mother owned her businesses. Nice. She owned whatever it didn't disturb anything, but it was just a case of what I believe is, and I'm not married, so I don't think I have any authority to be saying this, but I think that what should matter is you deciding on who you can trust in leading. If you want that, and if you don't want that, if you just want direct partnership, but I think it's also important that who decides what and when. You need to be clear. That's why I think you need to play to each other's strengths. So if I know that you are a lawyer, I'm not dragging any paperwork conversation with you. What it concern me? You're the lawyer now, so I'll tell you, please, you need to talk to my wife. Like, don't involve me.
Yeah.
And I think that should be the same thing. If there's something that your husband is great at, you leave it to him.
But I think that's also a part of like leadership, and I think you're speaking from a leadership perspective that the way that you will run your home is we'll play to each other's strengths. So you set that boundary, or do you feel like your wife has a say-so, or your potential mate will have a say-so in, how you run things, or do you feel like ideologically you guys have to be the same?
No. I think when you meet someone, you have these conversations around how they operate on a day-to-day level, and from that you can immediately pick out a few things. So me, for example, as early as 2011, I've always had a housekeeper. So there's no conversation around who's cleaning home. It's not happening. There's someone paid to always do that. That's as long ago. I've always had that. You know what I mean? So if you meet anyone, you can tell immediately how certain things will play out. I like home cooked meals. I've always had someone do that, and I can even cook myself.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Okay.
Give us a meal, VJ.
And I can cook myself. So food can never be a conversation that we'll be raising or trying to argue about in my own setup, for example. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm just big on, I think everybody should just be like, what are you great at? You know what I mean? If you're great at something, I'll leave it to you. The things that you know that I'm great at, you can trust that I can handle it as well. Let me give you this final example. I don't do online banking, for example. I never do online banking.
You like to go into the bank?
Yeah, but this is what happens to me. The woman in my life is the banker.
There's a woman in your life?
No, I'm saying at any point in time.
So, but
at any point in time,
when you don't have a woman in your life, what's happening?
I have a manager. And she's a woman.
So at what point does this?
So she wants to say you won't catch me. The man, she's a woman. So the woman in my life is a manager.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So naturally, I would do a lot of, tell me what has been spent. Or about your gbese with me is 1.2 million. I enter the bank and I do a transfer.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's usually how I've operated. My manager would handle a lot of transactions for me. She'll just tell me, sir, your gbese now is done. And I go into the bank and I make the transfers.
That's fair.
And I do that because I'm a nice guy. If I have access to money, that money will go. Like if anybody saying I need something, I'm like, okay, I can send it. But now if I can't just send money, it's tough. I'll have to think about it again. There's a little... that's a personal thing, though. I mean,
you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses.
Get me. I have my card. So that's why if I'm even traveling with anyone, it's clear, you know that you have to be able to handle these transactions. Me, I'll come and move work money back.
Okay.
That works for me. And, you know, so, for example, a lady that is used to the man always handling direct money conversations would not like this operating model that I have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But another lady loves it like mad.
Yeah.
You know, because I leave everything to you. I allow my women to interface with even staff for the most part. Because I realize in the patriarchal system, they always want to bypass the woman and say, we'll talk to Oga.
Yeah.
So you can't even talk to me. You have to talk to her. She's going to handle everything. Do you know what I mean? So it's part of why I operate like that.
Coming to you, what do you feel like love requires from a woman?
Support, submissiveness. So 80% of what I'll be saying, remember I said that's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
So I can't give what I don't have. And then sometimes I might dive a bit into the Christian these things. So submissiveness, because even the Bible says so.
Come on.
In
So-
Ephesians 5.
So I love that. So you, just to bring up a little bit of faith-based stuff, also in the Bible it does talk about that, you know, men should be the head of the household.
Yes.
And then you mentioned submission.
Yeah.
But my thought to you is also moving forward. Do you want like a traditional home mimicking what you've
Like a
experienced?
typical African home.
Yes.
So are we all Yoruba here?
No,
Okay,
but
so
permit me, maybe I would interpret it. There's something that they say that toba konyon yoman tureko, which means that if you're trained, you can retrain yourself.
Absolutely.
You understand? So in my own perspective, I feel like I'm more exposed than my mom because I mean in the era there was no social media, there was the technological aspect was low and all of that. So what I know now, my horizon has been burdened. So what I know now, she didn't know that. So perhaps if she did, she might not be submissive. She might just be obedient. Obedient because, I mean, there's a slight difference between being submissive and being obedient as a woman. So I'll give you an example. There's an ashwebi you need to buy for a party. Maybe it's 500,000. You need to sew it, do corset, do makeup. Let's say everything is about 1.5. Take pictures, I'm just saying. So now, you tell your husband, hi, love, I have a party and I want to attend this party. And he says no. Now, sitting at home, if you're obedient, it means that you don't have, okay, you say, I have a party, I want you to please give me 1.5 to sort everything. And maybe you spray money. And he says no. It means that, you don't have a choice. That's what you're saying. That's why you're agreeing to the adhering to his no. But a submissive woman has the 1.5. She's not even asking you to buy. She just say, oh, babe, I'm going for this party. And he says, no, I don't want you. So in my own case, I'm a very submissive person when I'm in love. And that's why I'm careful who I fall in love with. Because when I'm in love, I'm very vulnerable. If I'm in love, if a man says that, start smoking, I'm not saying that. I'm just giving a worse example. I will do it. Because in my head, I feel like you are leading me. And that's how I grew up.
Wow,
so if you say A is A, I only need you to give me reasons why A is A. So, and I will not date a dumb person that will just say, I want you to do A. No, I'm not a dumb person. So, I mean, I went to school, I'm learned and all of that. So, I'm not a kid. So, if you're telling me I want to know, and 80% of times, because our values, visions, everything's aligning. If you say, move like this, and I move, I know that is the right thing. And that's what, so because if you're also a Christian like me, that's why I say like values, goals. So, you know that as you are leading me, Christ is also leading you, and God is also leading Christ. So, which means we're towing the same
Vision
route.
and
Yeah.
route.
So if it's not so, that's why I will not date somebody that our visions don't align. You understand?
Right.
Because I'm a very submissive person. I'm the typical African woman, and that's how I grew up. Although there are some things that I'll take out. For example, I'm sure those times they would take domestic violence. In my own case, I can't take it.
No.
So those times, mom will say, they will even take having a second wife. They will pour water on their legs according to the tradition, but I won't take it. So it doesn't mean I follow everything, but I mean, I've taken, even in nonsense, that if you take out the note, there's sense. So I take out,
Okay,
yeah, so I take out the good things. I try to emulate the good parts of the love. And I mean, I'm not saying they had a perfect marriage. You know, there are times that they had their issues, but my mom tries to conceal it. She doesn't like us to know. But I'm not growing up. You know a lot of things. So I just take out 80% of the things that were nice and correct some things myself.
It's a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Coming to you, what do you feel like love requires from men?
That's a good question. I think it's it's evolving, especially in the world of today. I think responsibility is still at the core of it. I think as much as we might want to, label traditional, and the question then is, what is traditional, right? Because, uh, humanity has existed for 300,000 plus years. Our civilization as we know it, over 10,000 years. So when we say tradition, is that really tradition, or is it almost like a culmination of the lessons from our ancestors and people who have lived the earth? And there's a reason why those traditions exist, because if these are things that they've said, this is the way to do it, it's because someone would have tried different ways before, and it probably led down paths that didn't work out. And, the way of things and the way of life is something that is constantly evolving. So I think it's less about us saying tradition versus something new, and more about us saying, how do we improve on tradition based off of what we have? And in terms of what love requires from men, I think responsibility is still at the core of it. And I think, yes, we're living in a world now where post-industrialization, you have a more liberal world where you have more women also working in the economy, being able to make money. So it's quite different. So what's also happening when we say tradition is the context is our society is evolving, right? And what happened, or the way things used to be a couple of years ago, a couple of decades ago, is different now today, and we're trying to grapple with it. But I think regardless of the financial element, there's still responsibility. And responsibility is responsibility in leadership, right? And the reality about leadership, and I think this is the thing that, if we use the word traditional, folks who are more traditional don't get, is it's almost as though you take the rule book without taking the spirit of it, right? Leadership doesn't mean dictatorship, right? And I think there's often that, confluence. So when you say the man is the head of the house, the head, if I'm leading a company or I'm leading a group, it doesn't mean I'm a dictator. If I'm a dictator and I, say that, oh, this is the product that I'm going to put into the market, and the product is a, shit product, it's not going to work, right? And being a leader is being conscious to your environment, is listening, taking in feedback. And I think that's the thing that, often gets missed out. So I think responsibility is one. I think the other thing that I see that love requires from men, especially in the modern world, which is something over the past 2 years of being in my relationship, I've been trying to learn a little bit more of, is vulnerability. I think that, there's many things around it. Like as men, obviously as the man, you're supposed to be a certain way, position a certain way. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be like this rock that, people don't see beyond, right? And I think that particularly in the world of today, especially with all of the pressures that, everyone is facing, and, if we want more men to, because a lot of men take on things without sharing, right? Like men shoulder a lot of things, and unlike, I think women have more spaces where things can be discussed, right? I think men, we discuss football, we discuss things, and there are very few spaces as a guy for you to go and speak about things because of ego, because of different things. And I'm learning to be vulnerable. And in the past 2 years of being vulnerable, to be honest with you, it's been the most incredible experience for me. Reason why is because there's vulnerability. The reality is that vulnerability is very closely linked to trust. Because when you become more vulnerable, it means you share more of your authentic self. When you share more of your authentic self, it means that the other person sees that you are letting go, and it means that there's trust. And the thing about trust is that it deepens the anchor of the relationship, right? So I've learned in being vulnerable, I've been a little bit more of myself, who I used to be as a kid, has come out a lot more.
I
In
love
the past
that.
2 years, with especially particularly in my
Relationship.
when it's just me and my partner, right? Like we have the best time, the best laughs.
Yeah.
And I think that that has also then led into, to be honest, having a strong anchor, right? And when you're a guy where you have to usually take on a lot of things, and now you then have like someone that you've been vulnerable with, who understands, the good and bad of you, I feel like you just feel like there's something you can always come back to, right? Whether good or bad, you know that this person understands what you're saying, not just for the current situation that you're in, but for who you are. And I think that, in the modern world, I hope we see more of that in terms of vulnerability as well. So those are the two things that come to mind now.
I love that. Who gave you permission to feel or be vulnerable? Or what gave you
That's a
permission?
great question. And it speaks to something that Vijay Adams said in terms of relationships are contextual, right? And one of the things that I've had to learn, the reality is that you come into a relationship, like I'm 31 now, and my partner, we met 2 years ago. So that means that before I met her, for 29 years of my life, I was doing things in a certain way, right? And I feel like very often when we go into relationships, we have all of this, what this my partner should look like. These are my values. These things have to align. And the reality is that this person has lived a very different life from you, regardless, right? And yes, we're in a good place today, but it's still 2 years of my 31 years, right? And there's always going to be things that are going to be conflicting, and there's always going to be things that are going to be issues. And I think for me, in the past couple of, I've always been in long-term relationships for most of my life, and being in that experience, and particularly in this relationship, being with someone who is vulnerable, right, and shows what being vulnerable looks like, and shows what can happen when you open up. It's been almost like a situation where the situation unravels itself, right? So it's really not been permission in that instance. It's been me coming into an environment where it now feels like, oh, this is cool. Like I didn't know, like, this is something that could happen in this way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just continue
new
doing
experience.
it. And as I continue to do it, I then see the rewards of it, and I'm like, okay, I want to be able to go deeper,
Wow.
and I want to be able to, experience this, because I feel like just a little detail. My thing and thinking about life is we live a very short life. Like many of us at this point, we're probably halfway through our lives, right?
Well,
Except
one third.
one third halfway. yes, one third,
Baba.
one third, one fourth. In fact,
Halfway.
with some of the new aging technologies out there, humans are probably going to live to 150 and 200 years very soon, right? But the point is, regardless, in the context of things, the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and the universe is over 11 billion years old. It's a short time, and I think that in that short time, the biggest gift we can give to ourselves is to express, right? And this is what I think partnerships should be, which is giving and creating an environment where these two people can express themselves, right? And I think that's what I've learned in the past years as well. I think for the longest time, I always used to think about, what do I want in a relationship? There's all of these lists of things. You want someone who's ambitious. You want someone who does this, someone who's, God-fearing and all of that. But to be honest with you, in the past couple of years, I found that the two most important things that I found most valuable is, number one, peace of mind, and the opportunity to express myself and to be myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Vijay, you've been nodding and saying a few things over here. Did you have any feedback or anything to say about?
No. I was agreeing to a number of things because it was shaping my thoughts regarding how we eventually play out in relationships, because other people's experiences also comes to play, and that could mean other people's bad experiences in some situations. If you've ever experienced someone who okay, let's say for example, I was telling you how I don't do online banking deliberately. So so imagine you date a woman who you run this with, you're pretty cool, everything is great, but then let's say she goes to tell her friends that she's the one feeding and fending for you. Imagine if somebody experienced that and they told you. Now, it might want to make you act differently when you meet somebody new or whatever. So I think how we must not generalize is important. So it helps us treat each person you meet, differently. So whether or not you experience something bad, going into a new relationship, not to carry it over. Because as we speak about all the incredible parts of relationships, it's important to speak about these other sides. Is why I just had a spotlight, and that's what I was trying to spotlight while he was speaking. Like, this is good. Like, it gives balanced perspective.
Is there elements of grace in that?
We're gonna have to define what we mean by grace, though.
Giving someone or yourself the grace to change or move forward or do something different or not take something with you to the next experience.
Absolutely. Because it's important, like he said, like if you're 30 years old, you've lived your life a certain way for 30 years, so there's certain things that you might feel that is okay, that is completely not okay by your partner or who you're meeting next. So that's where the element of grace has got to come in. You've got to be able to figure out how bad is this, and how well can I accommodate this? And if you really can't accommodate it, then you can have a conversation about it and maybe decide on how to move on. Because one thing I've learned over the years is because you're doing it different doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. We like to think our models are the perfect models, but I've learned a lot of times, and I think also just by virtue of being in different position of leaderships, you realize that I like certain things to arrange a certain way, but it doesn't mean that anyone who does it differently, they're doing it wrong. That's what I've been able to learn, in being able to also sometimes, lead from work perspective.
Love that. So VJ, on your show, Off the Top, you strip away performance. But in relationships, many men are taught to perform stability, success, and certainty. What do you think about that, Wade?
It's a lot, but and it's just a difficult conversation to have, in terms of when you look at how the responsibility of being a man has been instilled in you from a kid.
Yeah.
Like, this is all you know. Like, what do you mean we're not going to be responsible? Like, the typical way a man is raised is such that if all the water is left is just this mug, you let other people have it first, and then it's usually how, at least that's how I was raised. You know what I mean? Like, you come last. Everyone has to be looked after before you get looked after, in terms of just even being there, being present. So it's pretty difficult. I wouldn't say, and I don't even think it should change, to be honest. I just think people should just be able to articulate how they're feeling. It helps. I think it would help people around you. I'm even working on myself because I'm used to not having to tell anyone anything. I'll handle myself and I'll get back. Do you know what I mean? You see? She's trolling me. So it's kind of like how even I got used to operating. Yeah. But over time, I realized that, okay, even if I want to operate like that, what I would do is I'll articulate. I'm not feeling good right now, so don't attach any importance to how I move. If my tone goes up, please forgive me. I'm able to articulate that ahead. So, it gives you, okay, let's leave him alone. And I think these are the most important things, conversations to be had in terms of how you manage when you're not feeling so good, when you're not happy about a situation. And, because some people want something addressed immediately. But maybe I don't want things addressed. Maybe I just want to cool off a little so that you can put your thoughts together, because addressing something immediately when you're very upset, so you're not going to say things you not claim you are sorry about. There's somebody you not say is a lie. You've always had it in you. You not be going back and forth. You know what I mean? So it's important to also learn how people and I think that's why I've always emphasized on playing to each other's strengths and weaknesses, figuring out how this person operates, understand them, and you're not going to use it against them. Yeah. Because I have a friend who was telling me about this when you're fighting your partner and trying to address the situation immediately or trying to address it later, having to find a balance, because if she was speaking, do you just want to wait and listen first, at least, do you know what I mean? And then maybe respond later? Or because sometimes trying to respond immediately, you are now not listening, you're not trying to just defend yourself, and then maybe she's upset, and all of that dynamics needs to be managed. I generally think so.
I love that. Oyindamola, so VJ mentioned a cup of water being halfway full, but as a man, that cup of water is no longer his. He sees the responsibility of sharing that cup of water to his tribe. For you, you also mentioned your mom earlier, who was a caretaker for your father. At the belly of knowing both instances of what a woman can bring to the table and a man can bring to the table, what are your thoughts on sacrifice?
Okay, so I'll say that my mom's own and I'll say my own. Because I told you that you will now, because of change is the only constant thing. So even if I've learned something over time, things have evolved and then new. So growing up, truly, is right. Men are wired like that. We see them as the strong ones. That's why you hardly see a man shed it. And maybe I've seen my dad cry just once. And that was when he was on his sick bed. Yeah. So and that day I was shocked. So something that's supposed to be, he's in pain, but I was shocked. Why is he crying? And he's a man, but for a woman, it's a normal thing. So men we grew up seeing men like that. That men, so everybody's wired to say, oh, men are strong people. They have to give up a lot of things, even their happiness for women, which is not supposed to be. Because the cup of water I used as an example now is sacrifice. What if it's the one that is very thirsty amongst others? So for me, who needs water at that time? Because it might not be priority to me. I might just drink it because let me drink water. And he might be very thirsty, but because he say, oh, my wife has to drink, my children have to drink. But growing up, I'm sure that my dad would say, oh yeah, I'll leave it for that. And it comes with something too. Men like it that, like those, no offense, Igbo men. No offense. No, I'm saying Igbo men, they're very good with taking care of women.
Yes.
So now, most of them that you see all those selling spare parts and all, trust me, some don't even have cars. If you know the cars, their wives. Okay, you saw Bimbo's film, Bimbo Ademoye's film, very sweet girl. So our film is like a typical example of what I'm saying. So men, some will not even go to school to send their wives abroad to school. So it's an ego thing for them. It's an ego thing for them. So a man even likes to do it. Like he feels that's what makes him a man, that, oh, I have to sacrifice for my woman. I have to, but don't do that. God said, love your neighbor as yourself, no more than yourself. So don't now try to, in the process. If you are crying, you must still see.
Wow.
So that's it.
So you feel like there's room for men to be able to...
Yeah, be vulnerable. I love it. It's a green flag for me. It's a turn on. Like when I see my man crying for me, I say,
Look at that. So I want to talk about equity because even the way that you're telling, VJ, like, if you're the thirsty one, drink. But in VJ's mind, it's my responsibility, it's my pride.
Yes, sorry to...
Yeah, no, good.
Context is, if this is water, I'm not trying to drink immediately because I feel like I can still hold myself for, let's say, another hour. I'm making sure I go around first, everyone around me. Everyone is good. Okay, you don't need it. Okay, I need it, let me drink. Because my first initial thought process would be that I can perhaps hold myself a little. It's like provision, for example. If you say you absolutely need a new phone, but your work doesn't necessarily require you to use a phone for work, but you have somebody within your tribe that needs something that is absolutely important to them. As if you're leading a family, you want to sacrifice
100%.
and make sure they are sorted, because you're like, even though I need a new phone, but they are more priority. It's not because I also don't need a new phone. I'm thinking maybe I could stall a little, I could hustle a bit more, and I will still get my new phone, but I'll wait. Scale of preference, which is what she was trying to explain. Like, who needs it the most right now, which is, So I'm not trying to say that I'm not going to just drink and just be like, let me die. Everybody should do, no.
But I think those are the elements of love. Ultimately, is the sacrifice that comes with it. And that is not to say that one or the other is more important. Because if we go by the Bible, it also says, the man is the head. I agree with that. But it doesn't take away from equity. Our values are all the same. You know what I'm saying?
Because Danny Jack, Titanic.
Don't die for no.
Because I don't know where they share. Or Danny, we're for swap. They for use 10 minutes in the water, 10 minutes out. 10 minutes. When they stay there, he died. Nobody sent that message. Maybe that kind of way they talk.
No.
If there's chance to use your sense.
So I'm gonna end, but I wanted to talk money. Did anybody experience anyone in their family member who received a dowry or gave bride price to anybody, or is that a old tradition that we're done with?
No, it happens though. Bride price.
Bride price, dowry.
I have 4 siblings. My brother is married, and they did the necessary things to be done. I have 3 sisters. So
that one's like
it still happens. It will still happen. It will always still happen.
So what
tradition, except you're not trying to marry traditionally, which some people are not doing these days anyway. I think whatever works for anyone. I mean, I can't be bothered. I think, again, these are the things that I'm very clear of. If you would like it, it's okay. Me, I wouldn't mind doing it. But if somebody else doesn't want to, that's fine. You can mediate.
If your partner doesn't like it, you go.
Like traditional wedding?
Priority for
No, it's not priority for me. Okay. A lot of things are not priority for me.
You're just easy, cool.
Me, I'm a chilled guy for the most part. I like what I like, you know what I mean? And I'm clear on what I don't like. But I'm not fussy on a lot of things. For example, I can't be bothered if I'm going to have a small wedding, for example. And I'm also okay if it's a big wedding. Do you know what I mean? Like,
either way
is good for me. I might prefer a small wedding and say, naturally, if I was to decide on how this is going to run, I would rather a small wedding. But I'm not going to be frowning my face if there's a big wedding. I'm like, if there's a big wedding, it's good. We'll make it work. I'm naturally that guy.
That's why your skin
The
is smooth.
money
You're not
part.
stressed.
The money
It's
part.
simple like
What
that.
part of money?
Wedding.
If it's a big wedding, tradition determines some of these things. Because in some Yoruba homes, the wife's family handle a lot of the traditional part of the setup of the party. The husbands will come with the dowry, and I think the father of the daughter of the wife is the one that does does the spending of money. Of course, you spend money now, but I think you can just both agree on what's important to be done. I don't think so. You see, between you guys, this is what is unsettling for me the most. Is the fact that we're supposedly in the generation where the men and women are financially stable, and there is no peace. Is it not weird? That at the time when I would think everything should be great right now, since everybody, like, you have money, I have money. Like, why are we having problems in conversations?
So, do you want to talk about that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so because years back, the generations way with our mothers, forefathers, and all, it wasn't like that. Men, 80% of times, are the ones that always have the money.
Yeah.
And so women they don't have a voice because they don't even have money. They're not independent. So you can't, if you compare that time and now, that's why I was saying that you can't say if they were obedient or submissive. Because they didn't have a reason to be submissive and still be. So if they were in this situation, like they've gone through social media era, they now have money for themselves. Women are offended and they're still loyal, and that's when I will now give them the thumbs up I give few people that are doing it well now. Because the ratio now things are just getting. You see some people get married one time, they're done and all of that. So my point is, women have money now. So when a woman has money, in all honesty, it makes a woman think, because the truth is 80% of times what makes a man is actually providing. 80%.
Wow.
Yes, that's 80%. I'm telling you, that's the truth. No, let's be factual. If you are a man and you don't have money, even you too won't be okay. Because if a woman doesn't have money, she might still be okay. But a man sees it that I failed in life if I don't have money. Yes. That's why if you say who went to do ritual, blood money, if there's anything like that, 80% of times they use men. So like men are the ones that do it. No, you at least a woman go and do all those things. They do it too, but 20% for men, 80%. Because a man is the one that drive is there. So when a woman has the money that a man has, she now feels like, so why are you talking to me like that? Yeah. So why are you saying this? So you must have more than that money at that time to meet up with the woman. So if the only thing, so what I was not saying, if the only thing you now have in your head is because I am a man, I'm providing. Sorry for you. Because you now know that you are doing rubbish. Especially when but if she has money, let her see other things that will still make her respect you. Let her see your values. When you say no, let the no be no. Not because you are commanding it. But she will understand. Let her be quick to run to you. Oh, I have this thing that is doing. What do you think I should do? Not that you say, I beg, everything that I need to offer aside money. So don't look like an ATM machine to a woman. And men, they don't understand that. In a relationship, a man does feel like, I'm giving you money, I'm doing. Sometimes, for me, I like act of service a lot. It's not just about money. Sometimes I like, aside the money, I want you to, there's some things that money can't stop. Sometimes I'm shooting on set and, money can't solve the problem if I'm shooting in the bush at that time. So that money, I can't chew money. It's paper. Do you understand? So I can't chew it at that time. So there's sometimes that money is not important. That's the bitter truth, whether we like it or not. But trust me, not to brag. You got to taste money to say what I'm saying. If you've not tasted money, you can't say money is not everything.
Sorry. I asked that. What should we now do? That's what I was asking him.
You have to give more than money.
Thank you.
Of course,
because women raise money now. We make money too, like you said. And that's why you say that it's not working. There's no peace. Because you need more than money. Because men feel like money is everything. Once you start giving your wife money, you have to love a woman in the way she understands, not how you think she understands.
But how about the man?
No, it's vice versa.
Okay.
No, women naturally give love and all those things.
Who said so? Who said men don't naturally give love?
No, let me tell you something. Respect, honor is actually what a woman needs to give a man. Submissiveness, support. A man is the one that is supposed to show you love. And 80% of the time, a man won't show you that love until he sees you do all these things to him. Do you understand? If you don't honor your husband, my mom, when she's telling me like that, she can almost kneel. Sometimes I say, Kilo shele, karamo. She'll kneel to be serving, like she treats my dad like a king. Don't be say, I'm not Otedela's daughter. It's not like I was raised with one. I was not born with silver spoon in my mouth. So now imagine. So she was always shaking and, yeah, what's in the happen like this, So him too feels like a king. king.
Why is this there?
You will not be eating. You can even be fanning him, praising him, singing.
Oh my
him.
God.
So as a man, I'm not imagining that. I would not be
Yeah.
growing up. I saw his. I think I wanted to be the man.
Wow.
Yes, and that's the same way when it's time for money, school fees, and everything. These are she'll fold her hands. Yeah, so it's a shared thing. So at that time, she's not even helping him think about it. Let me support, no? Do you understand? But when it's time for sacrifice and all those, she will do it. His friends will be saying, if these are my wife, is all more, you know. So that's it. So it depends on what works for people.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I agree. I think the dynamics of relationships, it differs. And that is beautiful for men, but you can also have a woman who is absolutely busy right now. And I don't think you're expecting her to be able to have the time to even do that. But that worked in that framework because they were able to understand what the roles would be for that marriage. And that's why I said from the very start, like, I think it would differ depending on who you're dating, and the dynamics of how you manage that relationship would also depend on that.
And I love that you guys had that conversation because, like, you're saying, okay, well, everybody's making money now. What's the problem?
Yes, no.
But she's saying things are shifting, and if a woman is now making a little bit more money, then what? If we're considered the provider now, what else can be provided that's not monetary value? And I think also for men, you guys may start to shift in what you want. A lot of men are saying, whoa, we don't want odogu, we want a woman that will be calm down and, like, just be calm about things. So I think things are shifting in the relationships, and we have to kind of reimagine what these things look like in a new season. Last question. That was good. Oh, I did want to ask you really quickly in terms of dowry. What are your thoughts on dowry or bride price? What do you think it symbolizes? Honor, appreciation, or ownership?
I think that they make the family members actually make it. I hope no family member is going to watch your time. Family member actually make it feel like ownership, which is wrong. Because sometimes the least, when I say something, it's very outrageous. It doesn't make sense. That's the truth. You don't even know this person's pocket. And 80%, and the people that impose this thing are those family members that they were never there for somebody. They were never there. And they're the one that imposed it. And so that's the time you start. There are some that you now see and say, well, I never even knew this person was existing. I never heard of this name, and they say this is my uncle, my aunt. So they make you feel like ownership. But I've never been in that situation. I've never been married. So
not yet.
Yeah,
It's coming.
Yeah. So I don't really know, but I know that they make you feel like ownership. But it's supposed to be honor. It's supposed to be, and then men too. When it make you feel like ownership for these grooms, when they now get to that, that's why they have that. They always feel like I own you now. Even your mother does not have a say in my life, in your life again. You understand, which is not supposed to be so. But because of, you can't blame them because of how this thing was. So,
any feedback from that?
I think, one of the things that's just personally, I hope that we're able to reconnect with our past cultural traditions, right? Because I think there's a reason for that, right? For the dowries, and especially in terms of the ways society was set up back then. This is a family that has raised a child, and then you're coming from outside, and you're coming to essentially, there's a transition that's happening. And I think it's a mix of honor and appreciation, which is appreciation for the family. Because if I come and I see a partner that is worthy of me spending the rest of my life with, you don't see that everywhere, right? There's something that the family has done to make this person into who they are. So there's that appreciation, but it's also, for me, honor to the family and the parents in particular, right? It's almost like a sign of saying, this person that you birthed into the world and you've spent a lot of your life investing in, this is me showing honor and showing that I want to carry on the mantle, right? Of then going into a new phase with this person, right? And I think that, because we've lost a lot of our history and understanding of the cultural context in which these things came from, we speak about these issues, from a place of lack of facts and lack of understanding. And that then means that we often do not understand why they existed and why we should treat them in a certain way. But yeah, that's my viewpoint.
Thank you for sharing.
So,
You okay with that?
yeah. I mean, I share the same sentiments of us. I think seeking knowledge regarding our traditions and not just have assumptions. I think that's very important. I think that's the message in what he said, which is important to say, okay, they say we should pay dowry. What's the real importance of this? What does this really mean? What does this signify to me, the payer, and the receiver as well? Because if you're going to raise kids as well, you're going to go through that process at some point as a father, and you want to understand what you're about to do and why you're about to do it. So it's very important that we constantly seek knowledge from people who are older so they can give us context as to why the traditions are there. And just like everything else, like in life, in every conversation, I listen to everything and I pick what I believe works and aligns with me. But I acknowledge everything. I'm not going to act like this person is wrong or no. I acknowledge everything. I can be like, oh, I get that perspective. I see what you mean. I understand the angle, but it might not work for me in terms of how I want to operate or how I want to navigate, the waters.
Okay, we're going to round up with one final question from all three of you. If younger Africans are watching tonight, what's one belief about love you hope they unlearn?
I think that, the unfortunate thing today is, especially in the world of social media and a world where there's less self-awareness and less self-reflection, I think that a number of us go onto the internet and we see certain opinions or certain ways that things are done, and we sort of take them hook, line, and sinker, right? And I think that's the resulting effect of that is showing up in our society in terms of the way relationships are panning out and sort of the opinions people have about relationships. And I think what Vijay said earlier in terms of just that thing about understanding that each relationship is different, is extremely important, because you have situations where you carry on past trauma for past relationships, you carry on these assumptions that you've made, you carry on this sort of teaching that someone has said on social media or somewhere else. But like, every single human is different.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that if, what I would say is a couple of things. Number one, everybody is different. Number two, there's a lost art in dedication and commitment that I think that, we think about the tradition and we're like, oh, I want to go against, want to be liberal and want to rebel against the tradition. But there's a lost art. There's a reason why people committed to each other. Right. There's a reason why people sort of, said I was going to spend my life with this person. Right. I think understanding things for ourselves, if we get more people doing that, we're likely going to see more results, because then you're assessing the relationship not based off of a frame that someone else has said, but a frame of your own understanding, and also an understanding that the person that you're going into this relationship with is extremely unique, whether that's a romantic relationship or otherwise.
Nice one. If younger people are watching tonight, what's one belief about love that you hope they unlearn?
They unlearn.
Unlearn, yeah. If they, any conscious bias that they may have seen that you suggest, let's think about this a little deeper.
Okay, so firstly, that love is overrated. It's actually not overrated. Love is sweet when you are with the right person. So you have to try to, in the chase for love, make sure it's somebody that is the right person, and then somebody that is kind, somebody with like mind, share the same aligning values, goals, and all. So it makes things easier for you when you say, "Hey, this person already understands." Oh, this is not you have to, because you guys were from different background, different upbringing, different things. So you have to, date or marry somebody that that is, and it's okay to make mistakes, but that's why communication comes in. So when you make mistakes, are you ready to change? Are you ready to be, not like you not stand on and say, you have to like me like that? Because a lot of people do that thing. This is who I am. Take me for who I am. Because maybe they've seen a lot of people that has indulged it. And they're not ready to change. No. And so the other party has to be patient, because love is actually patience. You can't be in love and then be expect a switch from 0 to 100. It's not possible. It goes gradually. It's like taking baby steps. It will gradually go if they're ready to change, if they understand what you're saying. Do you understand? And then yes, loyalty matters. You stand with them through thick and thin.
After I've Paisha,
Àfi tó bá fẹ́, me, I hate domestic violence. I don't like to hear.
you know, except they won't kill you, Sha.
Yeah.
Run, no.
Run. Honestly. That's the only
But
thing
you know,
I
they can beyond killing you physically, so they can kill you
Emotionally.
emotionally,
And that's mentally.
mentally, putting dirt on your name when you're not dead. That was not death.
Yeah, even any aspect of
Or no.
when you get to
But
something
be
that's
patient as well.
affecting your mental health, you're not being stable again. You have to run out. Then those people that gaslight people, narcissists, you have to run from those kind of people. Now, I've been in a relationship like that, and it was so terrible. Sorry about that. Very terrible. I don't even like to talk about it, but
It's okay.
it's okay.
I'll repeat the good things you said then. She said love is sweet,
Yeah.
is patient,
Yeah.
and be loyal. DJ?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think over time the most important thing I've used to guide myself, I think I said it twice already, is understanding that they're doing it different doesn't mean they're doing it wrong, which has taught me patience and I think if you're young and you're trying to love, even in friendship, you know, I think that same model you can carry it across board, even at work. Understanding that you have a colleague doing it different doesn't mean that they're doing it wrong. You know, if you have a partner who likes to move different, doesn't mean that what they're doing is wrong. You know, and that gives you the space to unlearn certain things for yourself and invite a new perspective to even your world. You know, you can be with someone and they'll just do something in a way that you'll be like, let's say cooking, I can cook. Let's say you want to make your own noodles, you put water first. And I'm like, I don't put water first. So how is this, you know what I mean? But you could learn that.
Yeah.
There's a learning that there's another world. You could do it like this. So it made me open to learning more from people. Instead of criticizing, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get that perspective. Why did you move like that, you know? And I think if you generally have that, even when you fight, even when things don't go well, you're also trying to learn. Because even I was one time trying to ask someone, I'm like, okay, so what would you say I've done wrong to you? Because I want to understand myself and reflect and be better going forward, you know? So I think just have that mindset all through.
Wow.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
So as much as, because I don't want to lead people wrong, as much as I'm saying love is sweet and everything, at the same time, love is not enough to keep a home or a marriage or friendship or relationship. Sacrifices. You guys, there's sometimes you will not be happy to make the other person happy. And it cannot be every time. Because every time then it's one-sided. That's be reciprocated. If the other person understands this, you know.
Yeah.
So love is not enough. Because if love is enough, nobody will marry two wives. No woman will be in love with another, have a side nigga and still be in love with somebody. I'm telling you that people can be in love with more than one person and love them and say, oh, as I'm buying this for this one, let me buy this gift too for this other person. Because love is not enough to keep a home or to keep any relationship. You need more than love. As much as it's very important, it's the basic foundation.
Yes.
It's not enough to keep a home. Other things are included. You cannot love somebody and be taking out other things. You'll be empty. It's not enough. It's just one of many. In fact, not even the top one. It's not even leading. Because somebody that is not in love with you, when you start doing some other important things, they will end up, the love will grow. So love is not even priority. That's the truth. You don't need to be in love. Kindness is very important. Even in times of you're angry, you and your partner, you guys are having issues, you are still looking out for your partner. Is this person okay? Then maybe you look out, remember that, oh, if I don't send this thing to this person, she won't be okay. If I don't go to pick this, maybe he didn't take his car to work, and you know that, there's traffic everywhere. All those kind of things. And you know, oh, it's depending on me because you're now angry. You say, I beg you. You know, it's not enough. So you will still be kind. Maybe in the car, you might not even talk to him and say, I'm still angry or whatever. But, you know, you look out for your partner. So kindness is very important. In fact, that's my own top thing.
I love that you're saying this
I'll
because
pick a kind partner over somebody that loves me.
love is so many things.
Yeah.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not. It doesn't
Encompasses many things.
So it's the fruits of love
Yeah.
that you're saying that we need to
Basically.
focus on.
Yeah.
Well, family, this was fantastic. We reached the end of the program, but I want to say thank you guys so much for joining us
Thanks
on
for
our
having
episode
us.
about love.
Let's start again.
Just saying thank you again. May love meet you in every lifetime.
Amen.
Love should not cost your voice. Tradition should not require silence. And partnership should never feel like erasure. Equity is not sameness. It is shared power, mutual choice, and dignity on both sides. The future of African love is not about abandoning culture. It's about softening what no longer serves us and strengthening what helps us grow. Moving from who leads to how do we carry this together? This is Unspoken.